It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. And for those of you who are just joining in, we're in an amazing series with leaders that are flooring me one interview at a time. For the first time ever, for those who are new to this, Her Success Story is doing a series on all the businesses and all the resources that professional services, and in this series, we're looking at law firms, but everything we're doing here is rinse and repeatable in all professional service and most businesses. So we're looking at resources that law firms or AKA businesses have at their fingertips to help them grow, scale, run effectively and smartly. Today, I have a dear friend, somebody I've really had the joy of getting to know through a group called Women Own Law, named Jennifer Gardella. She built the Gardella Group, and it is a digital marketing where she helps Jennifer. I'm actually not going to mess this one up. And I'm going to say, I know you as the woman who, from Women Own Law, we've had numerous Zooms. We talk everything from our kids, graduating law school, doing this, that, and the other thing. But you are a woman. I'm going to say a couple of things about you, Jen. You have navigated some challenging times in your life. Nothing holds you back.
Very true.
You say yes, even when it's not easy. She's currently in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. She just said yes to being president of the board of a group called Startup Bucks for entrepreneurs. She works with legal marketing companies and law firms on a day-to-day basis, running the Gardella Group. So Jennifer, thank you for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you, Ivy. As I mentioned before, it's an honor to be here and hear you, of all people, introduce me.
And I just giggle when you say that. I was like, really?
Really?
What's the deal? Let's do the backstory a little bit of the Gardella Group, what it does, and what brought you to start building this.
So back in 2011, 12, 13, we saw a major shift in marketing. And I was working I should say I was dating a lawyer in central New Jersey, a divorce attorney whose website had fallen off the front page of Google. And it was way back then.
That's serious.
It was very serious. So $1 million law firm with the phones ringing off the hook to no one calling at all. And it was right at the time that Google decided that we needed to start blogging, that SEO became a thing. I was there at the birth of all of that. So all of a sudden, all these law firms that were catching on quicker were owning the first page. And this particular law firm fell off the first page of Google. So I was hired to learn what the heck we had to do, rewrote the website, we had it redesigned, and also pushed out a very strategic social media plan for the law firm. And we won the first page of Google in 3 months.
Wow.
Very exciting.
And their phone started ringing again.
Off the hook. It was all good. So the relationship did wind up ending. I wound up graduating with my PhD, and I said, oh my gosh, I can help a lot of people with this knowledge that I had. So I was at a crossroads. I could go and, light the world of educational research on fire. That didn't seem too exciting for me. Or statistics, that's what my PhD is in. Or I could go help a lot of small business owners. I chose that last path. And what happened was I started like a do-it-yourself kind of service. And as I learned about networking, because they don't teach you that in PhD school, as I always say.
They don't teach you that in law school. They don't teach that.
Teach you that anywhere. How do you walk in and shake someone's hand? But as I started networking, the do-it-yourself service, lawyers started to come out of the woodwork and say, we want you to do this for us.
Right. This all sounds good, but we don't have time to quote unquote do it ourselves.
Right. They could.
It sounds like a great thing you're doing here. Can you just implement it?
Exactly. It was the birth of the digital marketing firm, and I now say to my attorneys, I want you billing, not blogging. I can handle the blog. My team and I can handle the blogging for you. You go do your thing, your special thing. So over the years, it's morphed a little bit into certainly, like you said, taking on other clients as well. But my sweet spot, over half my book of business are attorneys that I work with.
It's interesting because in the work that I've done with attorneys over years here, the one thing is they're amazing writers, but they get lost in the writing. So the blog becomes a 3 to 5 hour ordeal as opposed to a 20 to 30 minute brain dump. How do you learn all of this? I mean, you have to know so much about the law and about the legal world and about all the worlds that your businesses touch.
So, yes and no. And that is one of the special secrets, so to speak, of the work that I do. What we forget about in marketing in any industry, but specifically about the law, it's not about what you want to tell your ideal clients about how great you are out there. They don't want to hear from you about all the laws and how you're going to, all of those pieces of it. That's important to have that backup somewhere on your site to reference. But your ideal clients want to hear about how you're going to solve their problem. And the best example I have, because I work with a lot of family law attorneys,
Yeah.
I was divorced the first time and had never heard the phrase or the title of family lawyer. I knew them as divorce attorneys.
Really?
Yes. So, yeah, family attorneys, they do other work as well. They can do adoptions, they do prenups. But
Right.
when ideal clients go out there on the internet, they may not know family law attorneys. They're searching for an expert who can help them get divorced, who can help them. How much am I going to have to pay in alimony? How much
Right.
am I going to receive in alimony? How's child support calculated? So when you say an attorney gets all wrapped up, they get all wrapped up in, let me tell you why you're going to receive this much. Ideal clients don't care. They want to hear that you're going to protect the rights of them, their family, and their children. Some ideal clients, and again, I'm just going to go down the path of the family law attorney. Some ideal clients want to spend their day in court. They want their day in court, right? So you got to write to them. Some want a peaceful mediation divorce. Some
Right.
have domestic violence issues. So you have to write to how they are searching for you on the internet. It has nothing to do with you as an attorney. And what kills me is when I go on LinkedIn profiles or on the homepage of websites, the first 100 words of your website are the most important. And I see all this legal jargon. And I've been a lawyer for 25 years and I went to Yale Law. Your ideal client doesn't care about that. Your
Nope.
ideal client wants to know that you can protect them.
It's so interesting because I recently had a conversation with somebody and I said, were they interested in helping you solve your problem or were they interested in selling themselves? And they had to think about it and they're like, they were selling their company to us. I'm like, no, 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 no. But did they what interest did they show? And do they understand the problems your company is facing? What is challenging you right now? And are they the resource to help you? And they're like, I don't know if they really saw it that way. I don't know if the conversation really went that way. I said, then they're pitching and not listening.
Right. And I think we have to also realize that consumers are pretty educated. The internet's very, very crowded.
Yes.
So ideal clients are out there and they know what they're looking at. But the question is, how does the average attorney, and I don't mean average like average, I just mean like how do attorneys grab attention? How do you rank on that first page? And you
So
rank on
how do
that
you
first.
separate yourself? Is what I'm hearing you say. How do you separate yourself from the masses? How do you stand out?
How do you stand out? And most importantly, given the research that you need, which you should do before you start any marketing program, how do you help your clients solve their problems? So if you're a divorce attorney, how much alimony? If you're a business attorney, how do you incorporate? I want to form a partnership. How do you do that? Don't talk about details they're not searching on yet. All of that is the backup that then proves your expertise. It's a very different way of thinking, but that's the way you win the game on the internet.
And I assume, and again, I should never assume. We all know what that makes me. So, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway, Jennifer.
Go
Um,
ahead.
I'm going to assume somehow this background in statistics and that statistical brain really helps kind of break down some kind of algebraic-ish formula of words.
Yeah. So my PhD was housed in the Department of Educational Psychology. My concentration was statistics. So I understand before I even ever blogged the first time, I understood how people learn information and then how to measure it. The fact that I then got into marketing is amazing because my academic training, that deep research and reality check of how to measure things in marketing comes in very handy every single day. So it was kind of fascinating that I went down that academic path, which really was a big ego trip. Right. And I wound up with this academic training that, like I said, helps me every single day in my business.
So what are some of the things that, you ended up jumping in and starting a company of your own? You ever see that one coming?
No, I did not.
What are some of the things that you've learned in running this business? Truly, there's an expression that goes, making a decision to own and operate a business, to be CEO, to whatever you want to call this. Sometimes it's, you know, chief crazy officer, chief nutty officer. What is some of the things that you've learned in this journey?
I think number one is that any business, but especially law firms, need a coach
Why?
right away.
Because I'm not looking for, but why? Seriously,
Well,
being
I'm going to
really
say,
serious here.
like Ivy's a coach, like, well, let's just call it like we see it, right? But there's also SCORE is a great place to go for a coach if you can't afford a coach. Like they're great. So a
I've
coach,
spoken for free at SCORE with pleasure.
so have I.
Oh, yeah,
Who
love it.
who doesn't love SCORE? So a coach sees your blind spots and can lovingly or not so lovingly say, this is what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that is once you establish a relationship. So I'll tell you a story. I was recently doing a WeBank presentation a couple weeks ago, and one of my mentors was in the room. She came up to me afterwards and she said to me, your content is phenomenal. And it's a new thing that I'm doing. Your slides are horrendous.
God
And I said, this is
bless
what
her.
I need to hear. And then she redid them for me. She's in graphic design. So you always need a coach, someone that you develop a relationship of trust, who you can go to and who is going to guide you down a path. Because, like you just said, they don't teach you anything in law school about running a business. Heck, they don't really teach you a lot about standing in front of a courtroom sometimes. So you need people and guidance to do that. And I'm going to go someplace. Lawyers do think that they know an awful lot about the world, right? I birthed one. She's about to
That
graduate.
that gives you license.
So, and I work with a lot of attorneys. And the truth is, an attorney that can say, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm building something and I need help to do that is, in my opinion, a much more authentic attorney who's then going to build something really substantial. If you stand your ground and don't believe that you need help in building your firm, just like any business, you're going to lose. And it's going to be very painful. So, number one, you always need a coach. You also need to look at what I now call your business development plan. So gone are the days when we just look at a blog and say, oh my gosh, did you get any clients from that? Or, oh my gosh, I'm posting on LinkedIn and clients aren't coming in. I always ask my clients and potential clients, what else are you doing in your business development plan? So what we tend to do is we tend to attach ROI to certain things and give other parts of our business a complete pass, right? Because I always say, well, what's the ROI of your car or your office or your telephone? Like, we don't demand that they have an ROI, but suddenly blogging in and of itself has to have this massive value. When the truth is, it's everything about your marketing, your website, your branding. It's everything about networking, right, with your ideal clients. So it pains me when my lawyer clients say to me, well, I network all the time, I'm at the bar. Like,
Oh dear.
okay, but are your ideal client, like, you can get great referrals out of the bar, don't get me wrong, but so you have to look at how are you filling your funnel, and then what are the digital assets that you have, and then what's your sales process. A lot of attorneys don't like to talk to the people. Is your receptionist nice? Are you accessible to take a 15-minute discovery call? What's your sales process then look like, and how do you follow up? And so if the coach the business development plan
And
is critical. And then you got to jump, even as an attorney building a law firm, you jump off the entrepreneurial cliff and you build the plane while you fly it. And I am so glad in so many ways that I did this because I've had the time of my life. It's fun to not have something where you know every single step, plan the next 3 to 4, and then see where you are at. And that's where it gets really exciting. And I'm someone, because of my personal life, I've had to rebuild my business a couple times, actually, which has been a little hard. And I just went through that massive rebuild in like 22, 23, 24. And I would never want to be in a different position than where I am right now because it's nothing but opportunity in front of me. So don't look so tightly and hold so tightly to a plan. You have no idea what's going to really happen.
well, it's interesting you brought that up, and this is certainly something I would never think of saying otherwise. But I just wrote a blog, and we did a couple in a row on different variations of the theme. It started with coaching versus consulting,
Sure.
and I said yes, that's what we do, both. And then we went deeper and said the variation of you have to build the strategic plan, which is the consulting piece, and the coaching is the implementation piece
Yep.
with this. I'll call it, for those of you who are new to her success story, I was a dancer earlier in my life. So don't be surprised when you get little dance analogies of like a 2-step. Okay. Because you do 2 steps forward. Oops, a step to the side, 2 steps forward. Oh, we're going to take a step to the other side. Because it's in the implementation of this strategic plan that knowledge comes to light that brings the next series of decisions and adjusting the strategy, not throwing it out the window, but consistently making adjustments, to the marketplace, to your ideal clients, to what is going on in the world. Life evolves
Everything evolves. Digital marketing evolves. So,
on a daily basis.
so when you talk to some of the biggest corporations and their marketing teams, as I have, Instagram will implement a new gizmo into their app, and suddenly they don't know what they're doing. And so they have to adjust if they want to be everywhere. And also, this evolution, over time that I've seen, we also have to, I think, pay respect to the fact that certain things don't change. And law firms fall prey to this all the time. A lot of law firms look at, you talk about 1 step forward, 2 steps back. They're like, oh, why does my competitor have a chat bot? I want a chat bot. I'm going to scrap the blocking and put in a chat bot. And I'm like, hold on. Okay, hold on.
Oh, hold it.
Hold on, because if you look at the biggest firms, and I've talked to some of their communications people and marketing people, the chatbot was largely because the partners wanted to look cutting edge, but it's awful what the chatbot does. We have to be wary of when you are a solo or a firm up to 10 people, you need that really firm base of marketing support and expertise before you go all of a sudden, with dancing on a TikTok account.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are critical. So don't go blasting into TikToks where all my ideal clients are. We don't know.
What has surprised you in this journey?
That's a great question. My ability to flex my Jersey grit that I had inside of me that I didn't really understand, and my ability to grow as an entrepreneur. You and I were joking before we turned the cameras on here about hiring. Like, that has been the biggest part of my journey. I now sit in this place of brilliance in my company, and I don't have to be doing everything. Can you imagine? So I don't, yeah, it's like a whole new world out there for me. Now that's hard, right? Because you deal
It
with
is,
this.
and I respect you saying that because it is not easy to let go. It
Oh
is
my
not easy to let go of control. It is not easy as you build and scale to hire, delegate, and trust.
And I'll tell you something. If you are at the point where you're like, when do I do this? There's a great book that I just read. It's called Buy Back Your Time.
Yes.
And it is the only place that I have ever, I probably should have just asked Ivy where to, like, the formula. But my big question was, what do you delegate first? And how much should you be willing to pay for it? And none of the coaches programs that I've been in address that. And none of them will give you an honest answer. And the book actually gives you a very honest answer and then gives you an outline. So if you are struggling with these things, and what I believe firmly also with all of my heart is that, and anyone listening, listen up to this point. There are success stories of law firms, of other businesses that have left you breadcrumbs in how they have built. And none of them are in present day have a person at the top of the food chain still doing all the things.
Correct.
So that is a huge
That is
indication
a huge tip.
that you, as the one, and let me tell you, who lived my life 6 months ago, I have said, I need to delegate because I know where I shine. And that is so critical to realize as an attorney or a business owner.
It is so true. Like, I know I mess up my calendar more than anybody in their wildest dreams.
Do you really?
Oh my, and I'm not allowed to, right? Ask Star on my team. Don't Ivy doesn't touch the calendar. And Ivy got yelled at last week by Star, all lovingly, I will say. Star and I have a great relationship. She is excellent in supporting and in operations of this company. And she's like, I see you're scheduling things. Stop it.
There you go.
That she goes, because we put guidelines together of the quote unquote ideal week and calendar with priorities. And she goes by those guidelines and I break them. And I mess up all the systems that have been put in place that I started. But I'm like, no,
Right.
no, I could just do this. I could just do this, right? I look to take, right? As leaders, sometimes we look to take back that piece. And, as you delegate, empower your people to own what you're delegating to them. Give them the ownership of it. And the voice of it is truly. But I do have a tip for all my clients on how to start figuring out where to hire and what to hire and why.
Go ahead.
So the first attorney I told this to years ago, for new client at the time, been a long time client since, came in, we were doing, long-term strategy. And I was like, okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to keep a record for the next 2 weeks of everything you touch, not just like the legal hours you're touching, like everything you touch. She goes, you're fired. I can't. I'm like, okay, so I really need you to do this. You could curse me for the next 2 weeks and I'm okay with that. We
Right?
got back together. We went through this and I said, highlight everything that you want off your plate and tell me why you want it off your plate. And then we're going to build a job description around that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the next level? And we did the old fashioned, and she gave it to me on a legal pad. So we did the old fashioned system versus an Excel sheet or doing it on the computer.
Hey, whatever works.
Whatever works. But we took 3 different colored highlighters. And that was our hiring plan based
Yeah.
on what color, what the role, what the financial investment, what the recoup on the investment is, the ROI. And that was the hiring strategy.
Right.
It's not that complicated. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's not a little labor intensive for those 2 weeks, don't get me wrong, but it's not that complicated.
I will back Ivy up and say, I recently went through that January, February, March, and I will say it is easier on an Excel spreadsheet, but whatever gets it done for you is fine. And I will also say, and I did the SBA Thrive program last year, which was phenomenal. And on the first day, they, ask everybody to stand up and say, what's the biggest problem that you're having in your business? And everyone's like, oh, I can't get from 4 million to 5 million. Oh, I need, to expand my operation, blah, blah, blah. I stood up. I'm like, I am the biggest problem in my business.
And you are the most honest person there.
I am the bottleneck. And so it's going to take some time to get me out of those roles because my issue is, who do I hire? And also, does my current team, do they want to take on more work, which they do? And so then it's releasing, and it's also making sure that I have the systems in place so that my unique brilliance in the team's process is delivered on time to them. So people, you need processes to scale is what I'm saying. And you need a dedicated system of whatever you call them, playbooks,
Yep.
SOPs.
SOPs, playbooks, I don't care what you call things. I don't care if you're going through the EOS system, this system, that they all have a term. It's all, what is the system for your business? And what systems are you putting in place? What you call those systems, we could call them systems at Slater Success. I don't care. I just want to make sure there's systems in place
And you know what doesn't work? Buying all the books that are right back there on my
and not
bookshelf.
reading them.
No, I read them all. I didn't implement anything though, because I was so worked up in, oh my gosh, I need to be doing everything. So that is why you need a coach, which is what I started out with.
So, as we come to a close, what is the one tip for content marketing that you would leave this group with?
You absolutely have to have a very detailed ideal client profile and then do the research to know how they search for you on the internet. And then that is what you base your editorial calendar on. So it's ideal client, how do they search for you? Your keyword and competitor research will give you those answers. And then that informs your editorial calendar. If you're just out there creating content because it sounds good that day in your head in the shower, you're missing opportunities to connect with your ideal clients.
I love that.
Thanks.
Jennifer Gardella, thank you so much for joining me today on Her Success Story and being part of this legal resource series.
Yeah, thanks for putting it out there. This is what lawyers need to hear, right? They need to hear that there's options and that they need to find, just like a coach, they need to find a good option that's going to fit with their business.
And I agree with that. What works for you and why?
Right.
And then take the action. If it doesn't work, readjust. It's fine.
Right.
So, listeners, thank you for joining us, Jennifer and I, today on Her Success Story. This is what I say at this point of the show. Take a deep breath in. Feels so good. And think about the one aha, the one takeaway that you heard during this conversation. Write it down somewhere, whether it be on your Excel spreadsheet, a note in your phone, or a good old-fashioned Post-it note.
Post-it.
I don't care. That's your methodology. But then make the decision. What is the one action you're going to take based on that aha or takeaway? And do it. If this is helpful and a resource for you, I'm thrilled. Pass it forward to others so we can continue to be a resource out there. Hit subscribe and come into your inbox every Monday morning with fresh, new interviews and content. And please let us know, what are the takeaways for you from this series? What has been most helpful? See you next time on Her Success Story.